Are we good now? Thank you for,
Ricardo,
yes.
this is Anne. I apologize for the interruption.
No, not a problem.
We'd like to ask the meeting moderator to please promote both Sheila and Shirley to panelists, please. Thank you.
Member Kim, I've promoted you to a panelist. Can we do a quick mic check, please?
Yes, Shirley's present. Thank you.
Thank you. And Sheila, you as well?
Can you hear me?
We can. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, are we good?
We are ready.
Okay, great. Okay, good afternoon. Welcome to the July 14th, 2021 meeting of the Communication and Public Education Committee. My name is Ricardo Sanchez. I'm the committee chairperson. This meeting is being conducted consistent with Governor Gavin Newsom's executive order N0821. People watching the webcast can only observe the meeting. Anyone interested in participating must join the WebEx meeting. Instructions are posted on our website. All lines are currently on mute with the exception of our council. Lines will remain on mute until I direct staff to open them for public comments. I will announce when we are accepting public comments. I have advised staff to allow 2 minutes to each person providing comments. This approach is necessary to facilitate this meeting and ensure the committee can complete its business. I appreciate your understanding and patience. I will now ask staff to provide general instructions to the public.
This is the moderator. When the committee chair calls for public comment today, we will be utilizing the question and answer feature in WebEx. To facilitate that, I will be opening that item and displaying the following instructions for your use. If you'd like to make a comment today, you will locate the Q&A icon on your screen. When you click it, it will open a text box, and in that text box you can type comment and then send that to all panelists. In this new WebEx feature, the ability to unmute yourself has one extra step now. When I call on your name for public comment, I will let you know that I have sent you a request to unmute your microphone, and then you can unmute it yourself by clicking the button that pops up that says unmute me. Comments will be limited to 2 minutes with a 10-second reminder. At the end of your time, I will remute your microphone and move on to the next commenter, and we will be taking comments in the order that they are received. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now move to agenda item A, call to order and establish a quorum. I'll call this meeting to order and will now take roll to establish quorum. Members, as I call your name, please remember to mute your line before speaking. Shirley Kim.
Present.
Jason Weiss. Thank you. Thank you. Let's move on to item B. Public comment on items not on the agenda, matters for future meetings. The committee will now hear public comments on matters that are not on the agenda. The committee cannot discuss or take action on any matter raised in this part of the meeting except to. Is there any public comment on items not on the agenda? Moderator, if you can open the lines for the public.
This is the moderator, and I've opened that Q&A panel. If you'd like to make a comment, please click on the Q&A icon on your screen, type comment into the text box, and submit that to the panelists. And seeing no requests, would you like me to close the panel?
Yes, please.
It is closed.
Okay, thank you. Any board member comments? Okay, hearing none. Thank you. Let's move on to item C. This is approval of the January 27th, 2021 Communication and Public Education Committee meeting minutes. A draft copy of the minutes is in attachment 1. I'd like to see if I get a motion to accept the minutes.
I'll motion that, Ricardo.
Thank you. Kim, are you there?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, I'll second the motion then. Let's see. Thank you. Before we vote, is there any public comment on the minutes?
This is the moderator. We've again opened the Q&A panel. If you'd like to make a comment on the minutes being presented today, please click on the Q&A icon on your screen, type comment into the text field, and submit that to all panelists. And seeing none, would you like me to close the panel?
Yes, please.
It's closed.
Okay, thank you. I will now call a roll for members to vote. Shirley Kim,
Yes.
Jason Weiss,
Yes.
I vote yes, and motion carries. Thank you. We'll now move on to item D, discussion and consideration of recommended changes to the notice to consumers poster display and suggested regulatory revisions. A little background on it. The committee is considering possible changes to the notice to consumers. A copy of the current notice is in attachment 2. Business and Profession Code section 4122 and 733 require pharmacists to post a notice to consumers. CCR section 1707.6 specifies the notice wording. At the April 29th meeting, the committee selected new wording for the notice known as option 1 that focuses on preventing medication errors. A copy of the option 1 is in attachment 2. The committee directed staff to work with counsel on language to modify CCR 1707.6 to incorporate option 1 and to report back on language to modify BPC section 4122 and 733. Staff has drafted language that would modify subsection B of CCR 1707.6 to incorporate option 1 into the notice to consumers. A copy of CCR 1707.6 is an attachment 2, shows the proposed modifications in underline and strike through text. Staff recommended two changes to option 1. First would be drop the reference to a barcode for more information about interpretive services. A barcode would not be technically workable for pharmacies displaying the notice to consumers in a looped video message. 2 is add a tagline. Talk to the expert. Talk to your pharmacist. This is intended to encourage personal contact between consumers and their pharmacists as another means to protect against medication errors. Staff has also considered other possible modifications to CCR 1707.6. However, these changes would raise the following 3 policy questions for the board. 1, subsection A specifies the poster shall be located in a place conspicuous to a readable by a prescription drug consumer. A notice posted by the pharmacy counter might not be conspicuous and readable to consumers who use a drive-through window. Question: should this language be revised to require the notice to be placed in specific locations? Subsection C requires pharmacies also to post or provide a separate notice regarding interpreter services in 12 languages. Question: should this wording be revised to include other additional languages? For example, Section 1557 of the Affordable Care Act requires Medi-Cal providers to post taglines regarding the availability of language services for the top 16 languages spoken by non-English proficient individuals based on census data. Subsection D would be added to CCR 1707.6 to address additional information required by Business and Profession Code sections 733 and 4122. This information can be printed on a written receipt instead of on the notice to consumers. Pursuant to BPC 4122, copies of the relevant provisions of BPC 4122 and 733 are in attachment 2. Question: should CCR 1707.6 be amended to add subsection D? Staff suggests the committee consider and provide direction on the following items regarding CCR 1707.6. The recommended language modification to CCR 1707.6 to incorporate option 1 into the notice to consumers. The policy issues raised by possible changes to subsections A and C and discussed in question 1 and 2 of this report. Also, whether to add subsection D as discussed in question 3 of this report. Committee members, what are your thoughts on the recommended language modifications and the policy questions? Would anyone like to make a motion related to this item? Just want to get some, Shirley and Jason, just want to get your thoughts on it. If you guys have
Yeah.
anything, or do you like what the staff is recommending?
I do have a few questions. Regarding the languages, does DCA have a standard of how many languages they currently offer printed materials in?
Well, Bob Davila, are you on? Maybe you can elaborate a little bit on that.
Sure. I'm not aware of a DCA standard regarding languages. As you may recall, the board currently has a separate fact sheet that is required to be displayed at pharmacy counters. It's called Point to Your Language, and that sheet has instructions about in a variety of different languages. I don't have one in front of me. I think it's about I don't know, at least 12 or 15 languages that give consumers who speak those languages an opportunity to ask for interpreter services, and it's written in those languages. So those are the kinds of languages that are currently being used in board materials beyond the languages that the current notice to consumers poster is printed in. That's the only available list of languages I'm aware of. I'm not aware of anything DCA might have in regard to that.
But the Board of
This is
Pharmacy does
Ann.
have a standard, and we would be following that standard. Oh, sorry, Ann.
No, that's okay. I'm wondering if it would be helpful for Sheila to provide a little bit of information about healthcare providers in general and the requirements for language availability.
So with the changes in the Affordable Care Act, providers and health plans are required to provide interpretive services and language assistance services in the languages most spoken in certain geographical areas. So the Department of Healthcare Services, which handles all of Medi-Cal, and the Department of Managed Healthcare are kind of at the forefront. They're the leaders in that because they are the regulators. So the Department of Managed Healthcare regulates health plans, and again, the Department of Healthcare Services handles all of Medi-Cal. So they've set out, they've done all the work based on census materials to identify the top languages spoken in California and to provide those languages for compliance with the ACA, Affordable Care Act, and the ADA, which requires this as well under ADA 1557. So the languages that were suggested are based on what the Department of Healthcare Services of California recommends, or actually requires for all Medi-Cal providers. And it's common to see these languages in the larger pharmacies because they have to comply nationwide with the language requirements. So I hope that helps.
No, that's very helpful. Thank you, Sheila.
So do you think we should add any languages here, Jason, or?
No, that we are including all of the languages that Department of Healthcare Services uses, I think is sufficient, if that's what the standard is. And I do like the poster, and I just wanted clarification on that language issue. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Sorry, this is Sheila again. Oh.
Okay, Sheila.
Just to clarify on the additional languages, I had listed them in the materials. So you'll see that there are 12 in the current poster. And then based on the census and the Department of Healthcare Services, there are several more.
Okay. Thank you.
Sheila, if I could add one thing, not to muddy things up, but the 12 languages that you referenced are actually on the Point to Your Language flyer. They're not part of the notice to consumers. The Point to Your Language flyer is a separate publication that pharmacies have that specifies in these 12 languages, how to ask for interpreter services, but they are not part of the Notice to Consumers poster. So currently the Notice to Consumers poster is printed in English and 6 additional languages, excuse me, but not the 12 that are part of the Point to Your Language flyer. I just want to make sure we have these 2 publications separate and distinct so that we're not confusing them. Thanks.
That's a great clarification because, again, the requirement is to notify consumers of the availability of interpretive services and language assistance. So the Point to Your Language helps. And what we're saying is, in addition to the 12 on the Point to Your Language, we would be adding several more to capture more languages that are spoken in California.
Exactly, and that would be in the Point to Your Languages publication, at least as this report is contemplated, not in the Notice to Consumers. So we can certainly do that in the Notice to Consumers if that was the committee and the board's direction. But right now, the 12 languages are in the Point to Your Language publication, in the poster. Thanks.
Yeah, it all looks good to me. I mean, section A, C, and D. That was a good point to bring up on language. But is there any of the other comments from our board members? Or okay.
Thank you to our staff for their work on this.
Excuse me, I couldn't hear you.
I have no comments specifically to this, but just wanted to thank our staff for their work on the poster.
Oh, thank you. They do fabulous work.
Ricardo?
Yes, sir.
I do like the poster, and I would move to accept staff recommendation.
Okay.
A second.
What about the
interruptions?
Sure.
This is Anne again. Jason, when you're speaking about the staff recommendations, are you speaking to the proposed regulation language in 1707.6 that would incorporate the changes to both the poster itself, where the language is included in the regulation text, as well as the other changes in the other sections, including section C and D?
Yeah,
Yes,
there's
Ann,
3 items here.
Okay. Do we want to take them one at a time, Ricardo?
Well, yeah, the first one, when I read them off, is just, in a place conspicuous to and readable to a prescription drug consumer. Obviously we want that. And subsection D, just a written receipt instead of on the notice to consumers. It's pretty straightforward. I don't see any big. I think they're great recommendations to make. Unless there's something that you guys want to add to it, or you think that needs to be addressed on them. everything looks good to me. I think staff does a fabulous job putting it together for us, and they once again making a great recommendation.
I agree, and I move for all items.
Okay, thank you. Shirley, would you like to second that? Thank you.
Pardon me, Chairman Sanchez. I just want to be sure, does this motion also include the staff recommendations regarding the wording changes to option 1? Early in the report, they were referenced. We suggested dropping the barcode for more information about interpretive services because that would be technically unworkable for pharmacies that display the notice as a loop video message. And we also recommended adding a tagline to the wording that was selected by the committee in option 1 that says, talk to the expert, talk to your pharmacist, as a way to encourage consumers to meet and discuss their medications with their pharmacists. So I just want to inquire to make sure that the recommendation includes that as well.
The recommendation was basically on these 3, but thank you for bringing up the points. And Jason, would you like to modify your request so we could change it a little bit to include the others?
I'll accept that change, Ricardo.
Okay, they're just technical little things, but I mean, it's better. It's to better communicate with the public and its safety. So, okay, great. So, Bob, yes, it's all included. And do I need to do anything else to make sure that this is done right before we go on to public comment and vote?
What I would suggest, if members are agreeable, is to have the motion reflect the regulation language. As I understand the committee's desire, you have agreed with the staff recommendations, and so those recommendations are included in the regulation language, 1707.6 notice to consumers. And
Yes.
so the one item that I think is still outstanding is, does the committee wish to address the issue of the drive-through, or do they believe a single notice in the pharmacy is available? But aside from that policy question, I think at the staff level, the recommendation would be, if the committee believes that the regulation language is appropriate, to move the regulation language, because the poster that we've been referring to is actually included in the regulation language itself. So if we are approving the regulation language, that will take care of approval of the poster. Does that make sense?
All put together. Yes. Jason, are you comfortable with that?
I am, Ricardo.
Okay.
So could I maybe offer a motion? Could I, to clarify what could potentially serve as a motion? Is to recommend to the board initiation of a rulemaking to amend section 1707.6 notice to consumers as provided in the committee meeting materials.
Okay.
I will take that as my motion. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Okay, having done that, can we open up for public comment now?
This is the moderator. We've opened the Q&A panel. If you'd like to make a comment on this motion, please click on the Q&A icon on your screen. Type, I would like to make a, or no, I apologize. Just simply type comment. I will get this down into the text field and submit that to all panelists. And seeing no requests, would you like me to close the panel?
Yes, please.
It is closed.
Okay, thank you. Hey, Ann, we need to vote on that, right? Last motion.
Yes, and just to confirm the record, we have Jason as the first and Shirley as the second. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Thank you.
Okay. I will now call roll for members to vote. Shirley Kim.
Yes.
Jason Weiss. And myself, Ricardo Sanchez, is yes. It's unanimous, passes. Okay, thank you. Let's move on to item E. Discussion and consideration of information sheet regarding possible disciplinary consequences of DUI convictions. Background. Board members have expressed concern that licensees may not understand the serious consequences that a DUI conviction can have on their license issued by the board, including possible disciplinary action. The board and this committee educate licensees about this specific issue. At today's meeting, staff has drafted an information sheet to educate and emphasize to licensees the possible serious consequences of DUI convictions for their license. Staff recommends posting the information in a conspicuous location on the board's website, as well as publishing in the script and any other locations directed by the board. The information sheet has been submitted for DCA legal review, which is in attachment 3. Are there any committee members' comments or suggestions regarding the information sheet? Okay. Hearing none. Moderator, can you open it for public comment?
This is the moderator. We've opened the public comment period and the Q&A panel. If you'd like to make a comment on this item, please click on the Q&A icon on your screen, type comment into the text field, and submit that to all panelists. And seeing no requests, would you like me to close the panel?
Yes, please.
It is closed.
Thank you. Let's move on to item F. Discussion and consideration of frequently asked questions regarding electronic data transmission prescriptions. Background. The Enforcement Committee heard a report April 22nd about BPC Section 688, a new law regarding electronic data transmission prescriptions. Key provisions of the law take effect January 1st, 2022. The committee discussed drafting facts and questions to educate licensees about the law and referred the discussion to the Communication and Public Education Committee. At today's meeting, staff reports an alert about Business Profession Code Section 688 was sent to subscribers June 21st. To provide relevant information, staff is seeking questions from licensees and board inspectors for possible inclusion in the facts and questions. A copy of the subscriber alert is in attachment 4. Draft facts and questions are currently undergoing review and will be released as supplemental materials for this meeting. Are there any committee members' comments about the facts and questions? FAQs?
Hi, Ricardo. This is Jason. Being that I'm not a pharmacist, can you tell me if staff can tell me how is how are these FAQs transmitted to licensees in the real world? Are they sent via email? Is it written notification? How is it done?
I'll have Bob Davila go ahead and elaborate on that. Go ahead, Bob.
Member-wise, our suggestions are to relay this information to licensees in a variety of ways. Using subscriber alerts, which is our email notification system. We send this information directly to their email addresses. We would also publish it in the script, the newsletter that the board publishes, and we could also post it on the website to have it there as a permanent record for licensees to consult. And also, licensees who have questions may call our Ask an Inspector program, would be referred by the duty inspector to the frequently asked questions. So these are some of the ways we would want to use to get the information out to our licensees.
All sounds very good. Thank you.
Yeah, this is Anne. Again, I apologize for the interruption. I did want to let you know that Supervising Inspector Anthony Nongara is a panelist. He worked on the development of the FAQs and is available to answer questions on the subject matter if you have any during your review of the FAQs for possible approval and recommendation of approval to the board.
Okay. Can we have him just give us a little synopsis of, I mean, since he's here, can he talk to the board about it? Give us his opinion. Anne?
Yeah, yeah, I'm sure that Tony would be happy to do that. In general, how the process worked for developing the FAQ is we did solicit questions from licensees. We sent out subscriber alerts requesting questions, and then we also surveyed inspector staff to see if they had encountered questions either through inspections or through the Ask Inspector line. And through that, we then looked for common questions and used those as the basic framework from which to develop the FAQs. We then worked with both supervising inspector staff, senior staff at the board, as well as counsel to develop them. So counsel has reviewed and believes that both the questions and the answers are appropriate and legally sound for purposes of release. Tony, you're welcome to augment.
I'm sure Tony's on.
Tony, I see it looks like you may be connected with a phone. If you've connected by phone and computer, you will need to make sure that your phone is unmuted and control your microphone from your computer.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. No, thank you very much, Anne. I don't have anything else to add. What you said was exactly what we did with the participants, with legal counsel, with senior management at the Board of Pharmacy. And we tried to incorporate all of the questions that were provided to us, both from board staff, in addition to the responses that we received from the subscriber alert, which goes out to all subscribers. So it did, for the people who read it, all pharmacists were able to, and given the opportunity, to provide questions about this new law code, and we try to extract the frequently asked or commonly asked questions or commonly referenced ideas in those questions in what you see in front of you here. Thank you.
Yeah, Tony, in the past we've had surveys and stuff. We don't, from what I've seen in the past, we don't have a lot of participation. Were you able to get a lot of participation when you sent out the surveys?
There wasn't much participation in terms of public responses.
Yeah,
there was, if I were to count them, there were probably about 15 or less, so around the maximum number of 15, although some of the questions did overlap, which was a good thing because that is what a frequently asked question is supposed to be about. And many of the questions that we received from staff, part of that was, yes, from staff themselves, because as you know, they are all pharmacists, but they are also out in the community performing routine inspections and talking to different pharmacists while they're doing these inspections and, you know, just understanding what is happening in the marketplace, what questions individuals have related to electronic prescribing. And so some of the staff questions may actually be translated from something that was acquired from one of those routine inspections and therefore from the public. But just directly from the public through email, I believe it was about 15.
Let me ask you something, Tony. Is there anything you think we could do to have different that we might be able to get more participation from the public? Is there anything you guys need or anything we could be doing so we get more than 15 people to respond? From the public part of it, segment of it.
I don't know what else there is to do. We do have laws to require all of the licensees to have an ability to access the subscriber alert emails. Whether they are looking for that or looking at those or not is a different question. From time to time, the Board of Pharmacy does do education. We've done a couple in the past month through WebEx, which we can comment something like this on. The last one was heavily attended, but I don't know.
Yeah.
The subscriber alert is the best. The script comes out, but it comes out periodically. It doesn't come out every month or every 2 weeks, or doesn't have that set of a schedule. So unfortunately, I think that the subscriber alert actually is the best way to get it out.
Yeah, our staff does awesome work. I mean, I'm very impressed with everything that's being done by the staff, but I'm just also seeing how we can improve on it, and maybe there was something there. Well, thank you very much, Tony.
My pleasure.
Ricardo, this is Ann again. I wanted to just also let the committee know that we have also sent this out to prescriber boards just to see if they have any comments, because the e-prescribing requirements, right, not only impact pharmacies, but also the prescriber boards as well. So we have sent it to various healing arts boards. We have not received any comments back yet, but we will feed that forward. The other thing that I would say is that the FAQs can be a living document, and as you know, should we receive additional comments, we can absolutely, update this document and bring it back to the committee as well as the full board as appropriate, should additional questions arise.
Thank you.
This is Tony speaking once again. To piggyback off of that, I really do feel like once these are published in the way that they're published, and what Bob Davila was talking about before, I think that the Ask Inspector program is going to receive multiple emails and multiple contacts related to this matter after people see it, after people read the initial frequently asked questions. I think it would just drive more attention to the topic and drive more questions off of those.
Okay. Thank you. Any more comments?
This is Bob Davila. I want to add one more thing regarding efforts to get the message out. Yesterday, I met, we have a monthly meeting of public information officers of the Department of Consumer Affairs, and the public information officer staff for the medical board spoke about this issue and their efforts to educate their licensees, and they requested that DCA become involved in helping to get the message out about the new law before it takes effect and about education efforts. And so it's possible that DCA may at some point be issuing a press release or either a press release or some type of public announcement to, again, further publicize this new law, because it is going to be a dramatic shift in how prescriptions are written and how they are dispensed by prescribers and by pharmacists respectively. It's essentially going to be require e-prescribing in many cases. There are some exceptions in the law. So there is a concern that we make licensees in particular, but the public as well, as aware of this as possible. And I'll be working with DCA should they be deciding to put something out more generally, either in their publications or to the news media or whatever other audiences, and we can report on that back to the committee and the board as well.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. I'm just, trying to see if there's other ways to get more participation, not only from our licensees, but also the public. That obviously are affected by some of the decisions we make. Well, thank you. Is there any more questions? Not, can we move to moderate? Can we open the lines for public comment?
Chair Sanchez, first, this is Eileen. I just wanted to check to see if maybe any of the committee members wanted to make a motion to approve the facts as drafted, or you may want to hear from public comment first and then reopen it, after, but that would be an option.
Yeah, well, there may be something in the public comments that they might help us also shape our opinion here. Anne, can we do this after the public comment, the vote?
So you don't currently have a motion, so you
if I call for
comment and then do motion.
Yeah, I can call for the motion afterwards.
and then you'll do public comment again, because you have to allow for public comment on the motion.
Oh, you know what? Never mind. Let's just do that. Is there a motion to accept the staff recommendations?
Yes, I'll motion.
Thank you.
I'll
Kim, would
second.
you like to second? Okay, thank you. Okay, now we will open it for public comments.
This is the moderator. We've opened the Q&A panel. If you'd like to make a comment on this motion, please click on the Q&A icon on your screen, type comment into the text field, and submit that to the panelists. Our first comment comes from John Gray. John, you now have the ability to unmute your microphone.
Good afternoon. I'm John Gray. I'm a registered pharmacist with Kaiser Permanente. First of all, I just want to thank this committee and board staff for drafting these FAQs. I believe they'll be a big help to both pharmacists and prescribers here in California. In my view, there is still one issue that current law and the FAQ document leaves somewhat ambiguous, and that is related to the requirement in Business and Professions Code 688G for a pharmacy to transfer or forward an electronic data transmission prescription that has not yet been dispensed to an alternative pharmacy designated by the requester. And this requirement is addressed in the draft FAQ document in questions number 4 and 5. The statute in question uses two different words, transfer and forward, to describe how an electronic data transmission prescription can be moved from one pharmacy to another. I think that the FAQ document would benefit from more specific direction to licensees on the specific mechanisms that can and cannot be used to move an undispensed electronic data transmission prescription from one pharmacy to another. Specifically, there are conditions. Are there any conditions under which current law would allow moving that electronic prescription via a traditional verbal transfer, as described in 16 CCR 1717E? And alternatively, are there conditions under which moving the prescription must be accomplished by electronically forwarding it to another pharmacy, and a traditional verbal transfer would not be appropriate? Hopefully that question is clear. But thank you again for putting this document together and for the opportunity to provide our thoughts.
Thank you.
And seeing no additional requests, would you like me to close the panel?
Yes, please.
It is closed.
Thank you. I will now call roll for members to vote. Shirley Kim,
Yes.
Jason Weiss, and myself, Ricardo Sanchez, is yes. Motion passes. Thank you, and let's move on to item G. Discussion and consideration of communication and public education strategic goals. Background: the board's strategic plan 2017-2022 includes 8 goals that guide policies and actions implemented by the Communication and Public Education Committee. At today's meeting, the goals are listed in this report along with comments from staff regarding each goal. Staff requests the committee consider whether the current communication and public education goals remain suitable, or whether any specific goals should be revised, or whether the committee should recommend any new goals to the board. It might be helpful to know how committee members feel about these goals generally, and if any members would like to discuss any of the specifics, it might be helpful to hold off on any public comment until after the committee discussion. Committee members, any thoughts about the strategic goals? And they're listed, they're listed on the report there. Communication and public education strategic goals. Just want to take a look and see if you have any comments on them, or anything you'd like to add to it, or that we can improve on, or leave it as is.
Hi, Ricardo, it's Jason.
Yes. Yeah, Jason.
I think that I am still feeling like a rather new board member. I think I am fine with leaving these goals in these outreach opportunities as is. I am curious, though, from the staff's point of view, how has COVID and working through this pandemic affected these goals for the better or worse?
Well, I'll let Bob Davila, if you could elaborate on that, because he's the one that really helps us out on everything. Well, not on everything, but for what I do here. Go ahead, Bob.
Member Weiss, I'm sorry, I didn't quite hear your question. I think I might have lost something. Could you repeat that?
Yeah, how has the pandemic affected, I guess, essentially communication with the public and outreach to them, to licensees and the general public?
I see. Well, communication with the public has not been affected too much. If anything, it has ramped up. As you may be aware, the board and the president have approved a number of pharmacy law waivers, and we've used our website, we've used our newsletter, and we've used our subscriber alert system to get that information out to licensees, as well as other information regarding guidances from the Department of Public Health and other state agencies on handling mass vaccinations and other issues related to vaccination. So we have been able to use our current methods of communication to get important information out to our licensees as well as the public. We've posted a lot of this information permanently for the time being, if you will, on our website, on our homepage, where it's quite visible in a COVID-19 information box. So that's how that has affected getting information. That's been the impact of COVID-19 on our communications. If anything, they've increased. We've also sent out alerts when there are changes in pharmacy law waivers, such as when they're expiring or when they're extended. So those are our efforts to reach licensees. And I'm sorry, there may have been a second part to your question that I'm having trouble with my hearing, I think, and I didn't quite get that. Or if there was something else you wanted, let me know.
If I could just piggyback a little bit on what Bob said, sorry, this is Anne. One of the other things that we've done member-wise is we have transitioned some of our historically in-person trainings to a web-based platform. So you'll hear later on today about some of our staff outreach. And so we've been able to transition to an online platform. And with the online platform then, we have been able to actually expand our reach because you don't have the same kinds of size limitations that you would have in an in-person meeting where you're maybe confined by space. So we have tried to transition to those kinds of things, even transitioning to, the WebEx meeting platform. It has some pros and cons, but definitely one of the pros is that it has expanded the opportunity for people that want to participate that maybe were unable to participate previously because of travel requirements or those kinds of things. We have expanded our outreach that way because just by virtue of the fact that we're using a virtual platform.
I'm sorry. I appreciate that, Ms. Sodergren, and I was also going to say that in addition to the WebEx platforms, or having that has really been helpful because, as you will see in the later part of the report, where we give an update on communication and public education activities by staff, in-person staff outreach has pretty much evaporated during the pandemic, to no one's surprise. In addition to that, we had been doing some outreach to the public, to consumers at events sponsored by the Contractor State Licensing Board, where other DCA boards and bureaus were invited to attend and give information about their boards and bureaus to members of the public who come to these Contractor State Licensing Board forums. Those have obviously stopped as well. So we're hopeful to be able to renew that, as well as I'm sure inspectors are eager to provide some in-person training and presentations once public gatherings are allowed again. But in the interim, we have relied heavily on our WebEx training to continue our trainings for drug diversion and drug abuse prevention CE forums for licensees, as well as to provide education for licensees via webinars on our website in pharmacy law, ethics, and naloxone, furnishing naloxone.
Thank you.
I don't have anything to add in terms of goals, but I think I would encourage the the committee and staff to continue using technology and other modes of communication to increase access and to the public as well as our licensees.
Good point, Shirley. I think this committee would like to have the current communication and public education goals remain suitable the way they are, and just keep improving on them. And if there's any changes or anything we need to do, we could just keep adding to them as we have a meeting. We can discuss them. But and do I have to vote on this, or can we just by the three of us agreeing that it's just we want to have it the way it is?
So you can do either. If you do a motion, then that will serve as the motion during the board meeting. So if the committee feels that the goals are appropriate, then a motion may be appropriate.
Okay. Then can I have a motion to accept the current communication and public education goals to remain, suitable the way they are? Jason or Shirley?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a first and a second. Can we open this to public comment now?
This is the moderator. I've opened the Q&A panel. If anyone would like to make a comment on this item, please click on the Q&A icon on your screen. Type "I would like to make a comment" or just "comment" into the text field and submit that to all panelists. Seeing no requests, would you like me to close the panel?
Yes, please.
It is closed.
Thank you. I will now call roll for members to vote. Shirley Kim,
Yes.
Jason Weiss,
Yes.
and myself, Ricardo Sanchez. Yes, the motion carries. Thank you, and let's move on to item H. Update on communication and public education activities by staff. The script. Staff is working on articles and disciplinary case summaries for the next issue of the script. Publication is planned for August 2022. Staff outreach. Staff provided CE training for pharmacists on prescription drug abuse and diversion on May 19th, 2021 via WebEx. About 600 registrants participated in the event. That is very impressive. In addition, the executive officer presentations on pharmacy law, May 1st, 2021 at CPHA Pharmacy Law and Practice Conference, and June 19th at the same thing, CPHA Western Exchange. News media, staff responded to news media inquiries. And 5 includes the items in this section. Any committee member comments?
Bob, before any committee member comments or public comments, I wanted to correct something in this section of the report.
Please.
I apologize. Under the script, publication of the script is actually planned for August 2021. I had a typo in that, so I apologize. But it's for next month, not a year from next month. Thank you.
Oh, sorry. Let's see, August 2021. Here we go. If everybody can make a change, instead of August 2022, August 2021. Okay. Good to catch. See any committee member comments? Hearing none. Moderator, will you open the lines for public comment?
We've again opened the Q&A panel. If you'd like to make a comment on this item, please click on the Q&A icon on your screen, type "comment" into the text field, and submit that to the panelists. And seeing no requests, would you like me to close the panel?
Yes, please.
It is closed.
Thank you. Let's move on to the last item on the agenda, future meeting dates. The final meeting of the Communication and Public Education Committee in 2021 is set for Wednesday, October 27th. Any committee member comments or public comment? I'm sorry, any committee member comments? Hearing none. Moderator, can you open it for public comment?
Again, our Q&A panel is open. If you'd like to make a comment regarding future committee meeting dates, please click on the Q&A icon on your screen, type comment into the text field, and submit that to all panelists. And seeing none, would you like me to close the panel?
Yes, please.
It is closed.
Okay, thank you. If there are no other comments, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you everyone for attending and participating in this meeting. Hope to see you at our next meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.